All right, let's talk about something I call the tropical fruit paradox. The mystery of why some of the most beautiful, vibrant, and absolutely delicious fruits on the planet can sometimes, well, make us feel not so great. Have you ever had this happen? You bite into a piece of fresh, super juicy pineapple, and you get that weird tingling, almost burning feeling on your tongue? Yeah, that. It's a super common experience, and it's right at the heart of our mystery today. Why do these amazing fruits sometimes feel like they're biting us back? To figure this out, we've got to play detective. And our very first clue takes us deep into the world of evolutionary biology, right into the middle of what's basically a chemical arms race. Okay, so just imagine for a second you're a plant trying to make it in the tropics. It is not easy. The environment is a constant battle. You're dealing with crazy heat, a never-ending swarm of insects, and all these aggressive fungi that are all trying to eat you before you can spread your seeds. So to survive, you can't just be pretty. You have to be tough. You have to fight. This comparison really gets to the core of it. On one hand, you've got tropical fruits like pineapples and mangoes. They had to evolve these really powerful chemical weapons to defend themselves in that super harsh environment. But then you have temperate fruits, think apples and pears. They faced way fewer threats, so their defenses are, well, they're just a lot milder. It's a classic case of your environment shaping exactly who you become. So what's actually in this tropical arsenal? What are these weapons? Well, first, you've got proteases. These are enzymes that are absolute masters at breaking down proteins. Then you have irritating phytochemicals, basically natural plant compounds that can really bug our systems. And finally, these fruits often have a way higher density of unique proteins that our immune systems can sometimes flag as, foreign invaders. Let's zero in on that first weapon, protease, because this is the big one. In pineapple, it's a specific one called bromelain. In papaya, it's called papain. So when you eat these fruits, these enzymes literally start breaking down the proteins right there in your mouth. That tingling, almost spicy feeling, that's the protease enzyme literally digesting the surface of your tongue. That's the fruit fighting back. Okay, so the fruit is armed and dangerous, but that's only half the story. The second clue in our investigation has way less to do with the fruit and, you guessed it, everything to do with us and our own evolutionary history. Just think about this. For thousands and thousands of years, the diets of our ancestors were incredibly local. So if your ancestors were from, say, Europe, they were eating things like apples, berries, and nuts. Their bodies, their digestive systems, their immune systems, they all became perfectly tuned to those specific foods. Right. So for tens of thousands of years, our bodies were optimizing for local, temperate foods. Then, almost overnight, we're talking just the last 100 years or so, global trade brought the entire world's produce section to our doorstep. So now we're eating these really potent tropical fruits all the time, but our bodies just haven't had the thousands of years of evolutionary time to fully catch up. And this is the crucial point here. If you feel a little off after eating a mango, it's not because you're weak or that there's something wrong with you. It is simply a biological mismatch. Your body is really well adapted to one set of foods, and you're just introducing something new and chemically very powerful. And a perfect example of this mismatch is how our bodies handle sugar, specifically fructose. Tropical fruits are often unbelievably sweet, just packed with high concentrations of it, and that can be a real challenge for a digestive system that's more used to less sugary fruits. So let's walk through what happens. First, you eat a delicious, super high fructose fruit, like a mango. Your small intestine gets to work, but honestly, it can only absorb so much fructose at one time. So what's next? All that excess fructose travels down to your colon, and down there, it becomes a giant feast for your gut bacteria. And what's the end result? That fermentation process produces gas, which leads straight to bloating and discomfort. And it's really important to note here that this whole fructose overload thing is especially common and can be way more intense for people with conditions like irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS, since their digestive systems can be more sensitive to all that fermentation. So we've got the fruit's powerful defenses, and we've got our body's ancient history. But there is a third, very modern clue to consider. And this one has nothing to do with evolution and everything to do with the long, long journey that fruit takes to get to your kitchen. Think about it. A pineapple grown in Costa Rica has to travel thousands of miles to end up in a store in, I don't know, Chicago. To even survive that trip, it's picked when it's still green and unripe. Then it's often artificially ripened using gases. Along the way, it goes through all these temperature changes. All of this stress can actually cause higher concentrations of those irritating compounds and can throw the sugar to acid ratio completely out of whack. And this is really what it all boils down to. The juicy, perfectly ripe mango you eat fresh off a tree in Thailand is a fundamentally different biological thing than the one that was picked green, shipped across the world, and gassed to look ripe. That transported version can simply be way more irritating to your system. All right, detective, we've gathered all our clues: the fruit's chemical weapons, our evolutionary mismatch, and the stresses of the modern supply chain. Now, it's time to connect the dots and solve this puzzle. So here's how it all connects. The harsh tropical environment forced the fruit to evolve powerful defenses. These defenses are active, irritating substances, and when those substances meet a human body that isn't fully adapted to them, especially after the fruit itself has gone through a stressful journey, the result is a much, much higher chance of discomfort. See? It all just clicks right into place. So the big takeaway here is that it's almost never just one single thing. It's not just the pineapple. It's this beautiful, really complex interaction between the fruit's powerful nature, your own unique ancestral history, and the simple realities of our modern global food system. And that leaves us with one last thought. The next time you feel that little tingle from a piece of pineapple, just think about what's really happening. Is it just a simple reaction? Or are you maybe experiencing, right there on your own tongue, the living echo of an ancient evolutionary battle between a plant and its entire world? It's a pretty fascinating paradox to chew on.